What's going on, everyone? So, Los Angeles Lakers signing two-way center Christian Koloko to that two-way contract is believed to actually be playing a significant role in this upcoming season, right? He is looked at as a player of need because of his ability to not only run the floor, block shots. He's probably our best shot blocking big, not name Anthony Davis, obviously. And with Christian Wood being out, right? Christian Koloko could get some real opportunities, some real minutes, and potentially have a real impact. He was a guy that had a lot of promise on the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, hasn't played in a year and a half, and that's very concerning, right? Because it's just, yes, the blood clots, and he's been medically cleared, and he was given a second chance at the NBA life, right? Which is wonderful to see, right? You always want to see the success and the underdog story. Always a great story. And I'm really rooting for Koloko. Even if he wasn't on the Lakers, still would be rooting for him because I just love to see that type of stuff, right? But now that he's on the Lakers, right, it just gives you that extra uptick. It's like, okay, now I want him to become a superstar now, where it's like, I wanted him to have a long career, but now, man, be the best center in the NBA, right? But in all seriousness, right, like the fact that Christian Koloko has a potential to maybe even make the main roster. There's a lot of talks that at some point the Lakers could look, if he's able to play, if he's able and properly conditioned and all that, to maybe even fill in to a full roster spot as soon as this season, depending on if the Lakers pull off a trade or not, or if he's just that good, where it's like, man, we really got to get him on the roster. But there also are a lot of questions about, what does his conditioning look like? Is he ready to play now? Right? Like one of the reasons Lakers brought him on a two-way is to give him the chance to see what he's got, but there's not the pressure of like, he's taking up a roster spot, right? Like he can spend some time in the G League, kind of rehab, kind of get his legs under him, get right, and then ultimately, eventually, probably next season at worst, actually take on a full roster spot. But we got some news in regards to Christian Koloko, and this is per Dave McMenamin of ESPN. According to Dave McMenamin of ESPN, the Lakers have looked into Koloko's condition and believe he'll be able to play this season. The Lakers have conducted an independent assessment of the 24-year-old Koloko's condition and have reason for optimism that he'll be able to play this season, sources told ESPN. So again, it's good news, right? Now, it doesn't say immediately. It says this season. That doesn't necessarily mean at the start of the season, right? That could be, middle of the season, end of the season, right? Like, now, look, him on a two-way, he's got 52 games that he's able to play on a two-way contract. So, obviously, I imagine that the Lakers are going to kind of spread that out a little bit, right? I could see maybe early on, right? Especially against someone like the bigger team, like Minnesota, I could see him suiting up and being at least there. Maybe, I don't know if he'll play or not, but at least there, just simply on the fact that, like, hey, they have Naz Reid, they have, Rudy Gobert, they have Karl Anthony Towns. We may need another big body 7-footer, and Christian Koloko can kind of slot in and play that, right? Like, I think certain matchups, definitely, he'll at least be sitting there. I think that they'll play him randomly in a pinch at times. But I also, again, you want the most success for him. And I don't want the Lakers to, because they have such high hope and optimism and belief in the kid, that they kind of push him a little too much. And now, what happens if he does miss the season, or he does end up, having medical problems and stuff? Like, it's the last thing you want, right? Like, to me, you kind of ease him in. Also, you don't want a guy that hasn't played in a year and a half. And I imagine he's done some conditioning, he's done some workouts, stuff like that, but you can't replicate NBA physicality, pace, play style, all right? Like, all of those things are very important. That there's no real way to replicate. You can't do it at your local Y. You can't do it in training. You can't do it. Like, you can, try to simulate it to the best of your ability, but you don't know until you're actually on the basketball court. And a guy that hasn't played in a year and a half, last thing you want is him coming back, going full speed, and he ends up getting hurt, right? I mean, great example is like, look at Ja Morant, right? He couldn't really work out, couldn't really do anything, missed 20 games, came back, and unfortunately ended up hurting himself, right? Because he went from 0 to 100 and he wasn't able to kind of build up to it. And the Grizzlies were so far behind, he felt like, we got to go on an insane run here. Let's go, right? Like, I don't want to see Christian Koloko come in and he feels like, I need to prove myself. I need to, I need to show the Lakers, right? They're taking a chance on me, right? Like, I really hope that Rob and the organization is, expressing to him like, hey, look, you're part of the future, right? Like, you're young enough. We see you as a real piece, not just this season, but for the foreseeable future. We'd love to see you be, on the main roster next season, and for many years to come. We see you as our starter. We see you slotted alongside LeBron or Anthony Davis him at the 4, you at the 5, right? Like, when LeBron rides off in the sunset, maybe you can, be that guy, right? Like, you put the long-term vision in his head, right? You put the goals and aspiration in his head. You help guide him. Like, hey, we want you to be a big impact this year. We want you to be a guy that, can give us some quality minutes, and we're going to give you the opportunity to do that and prove that. But we also want to make sure that you're as good to go as possible. This isn't about just like this season. This is about the next several seasons. This is about you not just playing 50 games for us and that's it. This is about you playing, 20 games this year so you can play 82 next, right? Like, that way you can get the contracts, you can get those things, right? Like, because I'm sure that there is this sense of eagerness. I'm sure there is this sense of wanting to prove to, not only the Lakers, not only to the league itself, not only to the naysayers, but I'm sure to himself, right? I'm sure he wants to prove like, oh no, I can be this guy. I can do these things. I'm good, right? Like that what happened was behind me, right? Now I'm ready to take this step. I'm ready to take this leap, right? Like, I get the angst, right? To be that guy. And I like Koloko a lot. I do. I really think he has the skill set, and the idea of him is exactly what the Lakers need in a lot of ways. Definitely needs to put on some weight. Definitely needs to get into more of a man body, right? For his size. But he's a true 7-footer, 7'1", floor running big, high energy, high effort, block shots, showing the ability to defend out on the perimeter, showing the ability to stretch the floor a little bit. Obviously, I don't think he's there yet, but definitely something that, I think he can improve and continue to grow and develop on, right? He's a guy that I could see playing the Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford type role that we saw with the Dallas Mavericks, right? And he has a couple things on the Lakers that he just didn't have with Toronto. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but more so LeBron James and his playmaking ability and the attention he draws and how he can get the ball and run some pick and rolls and throw those lobs. Same thing with D'Angelo Russell, his playmaking ability. Even Austin Reeves. I'm not really sold on Austin Reeves as the primary playmaker, but he is a guy that has shown the ability to do the basics. He run the pick and roll, right? Like, he can initiate, throw the lob. Right? Koloko's going to get opportunity if he can stay healthy and he can kind of prove himself. And I want to see him prove himself. I want to see him develop into that guy that we believe he can be, right? But I also want calmed expectations. I also want people to understand the situation at hand. This isn't a guy that, is coming off an 82-game season and looked great. No, this is a guy that hasn't played in a while, right? Like, this is a guy that, and even when he did play, was a project. He wasn't Dwight Howard in his prime right out the gate, right? Like, no, he was a guy that was a project, that was looked at as like, okay, in a year or two at best, maybe he can kind of move into that starting role, right? But he was a guy that was looked at as like, he's a couple years away. And again, he just missed a year to a year and a half of potential training and developing and growth and, being able to take the next step. The idea was by age 25, he'd be ready to jump into being the main starter on a real team, Right now, it might be 26, 27. Right? But there's nothing wrong with that, right? Everyone develops differently. And even if he does, like say he's 27, you still got a good, 5+ years of him as, a quality player on your team. And even if he doesn't become a starter, as long as he can be, like, even if he just develops into like your primary backup, right? Like, what if he, like, just not everyone has to be a star. You still need the role guy, you still need the backup center that can start in a pinch. Like, even if Koloko just becomes that, a guy that, like, you just play 15 to 20 minutes a night that can get you, 8 and 8 with like 2 blocks. Like, that's perfect. Let's go. Right? Like, it doesn't need to be this 20 guy. I love it. Again, the better he is, the better the Lakers are. So definitely looking forward to seeing what Koloko brings to the table and what he can provide. And the fact that the Lakers have real belief and expectations that he should be able to play some real minutes, and there's kind of murmurs going around that the Lakers could potentially bring him into the main roster as soon as this season. A lot of excitement, in my opinion. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? You think like, yeah, he's going to play. He's going to have a big impact. He's going to be one of the key pieces this season for us. Do you think like, no, like give him a year, give him 2. Let's wait and see. Be patient. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.